Hey, what's going on, guys? Threat Level Midnight here, and today we're talking about the Christensen Arms MPR, or Modern Precision Rifle. So let's take a look. First impressions of this rifle was, man, is it cool. It's about as modern as I've ever seen, and everything that could be carbon fiber is carbon fiber. And that being said, the thing only weighs 6.9 pounds, of course, without a bipod or glass added to it. So when you pick the thing up, it's scary light. It's almost like this thing's chambered in 300 Winchester Magnum, and it made me think, like, hey, if I shoot a 230 grain A-tip out of this thing, how's the recoil gonna feel? That's how light it was, where I was actually concerned about it. But let's go over some features. So we'll start with the stock. What's nice about this stock is everything is 100% adjustable. So you have your length of pull, your cheek rise. There's a million little QD sockets all over it. You can put a monopod or a bag rider on here, and they even put little index marks right on each piece, so you know that if you need to take your cheek rest off, which we'll get into when we talk about disassembly, you can just re-index it immediately instead of just kind of guessing where it is or having to put your cheek on the gun. So I really like that. A big feature of this thing too is it is a side folder, so you can see the hinge right here, and there's nothing that's weak about this thing. And this thing is beefy. It's really a lot of extra material right here to keep this thing sturdy, and I'll show you guys how it locks up. So if you look at the left side of the rifle, you just have this really small button right here. So when you depress that button, now the stock can fold, and it's a really solid lockup. So when you do fold the stock, this right here, this little piece right here is a really strong magnet, and there's a piece of hardware right here on the chassis, and you can hear real positive lockup to the gun. So even when it's in its folded position, it's not going to break away without you actually putting some effort in and pulling it. But when you extend the stock, I'll tell you what, it's an extremely solid lockup. And there's no gap in between here at all, so you really feel confident that this thing's going to stick in its position when you open it back up. So talking about the grip, it just has a Magpul MOE-K grip on it, and this is something that I didn't really care for. Personally, I think it's a little thin and it's hard plastic, so it's not super comfortable. I think they could have done better with that. I know this is probably like the lightest grip they could find that's not, you know, I don't know. Maybe it was just a cost savings. Maybe it was just slim. But it would have been nice to have something that's like rubberized or with a palm swell here, so you could put your thumb, on a shelf or something right here. But other than that, it's just an AR-15 style screw, and you could just take it off and put on whatever you want. So moving on to the trigger. The trigger is a flat-faced trigger tech. I like these triggers. I shoot a lot of Savage guns, so I'm more of an AccuTrigger guy. But as far as 700 triggers go, this thing feels really good. It's a nice smooth pull back, and that's about 2.5, maybe 3 pounds right there as it comes set from the factory there. So real nice trigger, real easy to pull. Like I say, I think the grip, adding like a shelf right here or a grip with a palm swell would make this thing a little bit more comfortable to pull. So the action itself is patterned off the Remington 700 action. As you can see, it's got that standard safety position here that everyone's accustomed to, that's raised on 700 actions. And it comes with a 20-minute base that's built on top of it there, which is nice that it comes with that from the factory, that you're not having to shell out for a base when you're done. The bolt handle is skeletonized and the bolt is fluted. It has an oversized bolt knob, which is nice, and it's a real smooth action. So then when we move into the magazine, it just takes standard AI pattern mags. This is the long action, obviously, for the Magnum cartridges. So here's something that people criticize a lot about this gun: this mag wobble right here. And I'll tell you what, it's really frustrating that it wobbles this much, but it in no way inhibits the feeding of the gun. And I think it has a little something to do with the way that this chassis is built, which is why it wobbles so much. So you have your normal mag well right here, but then if we flip it, you can see that there's a really large cutout right here, and you can see the difference in the depth of it right here. And what they do is they make it so you can side load this mag if cover or a barricade obstructs you from dropping the mag all the way free. You can push it on the side and still insert your magazine. So with the magazine wobble aside, we get into the handguards here, and this is their 14-inch free float carbon fiber here, and basically, yeah, it's just a solid carbon fiber free float tube, and it's covered in M-LOK all the way down, and it comes with a little bit of a pick rail section here that you can put a sling swivel on. And this one, we went ahead and mounted an Accutac bipod to it. It's the most stable bipod I've ever used in my life, so I'm happy with it. So now we get to the barrel. The barrel is a 416 stainless barrel. It's a 1 in 10 twist for this 300 Win Mag, and it's carbon fiber wrapped, 26 inches long, if I didn't say that already. Really heavy profile, but like I say, this gun is so light, and which brings us to the muzzle device here, which is a nice 4-chamber brake. And if you look at the top, let's see if I can adjust the camera to get you guys a top angle here. You can see there are 4 set screws right here, so you can open up ports to direct gas up. And I would imagine that maybe this could change your harmonics a little bit, so I would check your zero if you're going to be pulling these things out afterwards. Going back to the brake, this is just a benchtop review today, but I'll tell you that I was worried about this gun being 6.9 pounds shooting a 230 grain full power Win Mag cartridge. This brake completely kills the recoil. It does such a phenomenal job. It feels like you're shooting a 308 when you're breaking shots off of this gun, which was really refreshing to me because I was a little nervous about it, if I'm being completely honest. So now that we've gone over the features, let's talk about the things that I like and don't like. So one, love the adjustability of the stock. I love how lightweight the thing is. I like the fluted bolt and the oversized handle that it comes with the rail. The chassis seems pretty solid to me. It seems really solid. I don't like the mag wobble like everyone says. I really don't care for it, but it doesn't affect the way that the gun functions. It still feeds completely reliably. I don't like the grip that it comes with. Here's the last thing that I don't like about it is the way that this cheek riser is constructed. If you pull the bolt and you want to disassemble your gun and you hit your bolt release, the bolt hits your cheek riser right here. So you need to drop your cheek riser, which means dealing with these 2 screws right here, dropping it down and then pulling your bolt instead of being able to quickly either drop it or just having enough clearance for the bolt to get out. It's probably about a 1/2 inch. You just see that the recoil lugs aren't fitting outside the action right there. What they did to counter that though was they did put the index marks right here so that you could quickly go back to it, but it still requires tools to get your bolt out. It's something that I don't care for. It's not really a deal breaker at all. I would just prefer it to not be that way. So now that you've seen the gun, what I like and don't like about it, I'll talk about how it was to shoot this thing. I didn't take a lot of B-roll footage at the range. We were just testing some new loads for this thing, developing it so we can actually go out and prove the accuracy and show you guys what it can really do. But I will say that one, the recoil impulse was really pleasant. It wasn't bad at all, even though this thing is super lightweight. And two, I had 2 different bullets that we were testing out. One was the 230 grain A-tip, just at a variety of different seat depths, just to see where we could push our groups. And the other was just a 180 grain power shock load that I used just so we didn't have to burn through a bunch of A-tips to get the thing initially zeroed. But I will say that even with 180 grain power shock, we were slinging rounds out to 750 yards and getting first round impacts no problem. Which was pretty cool. And then during our development stage, we were shooting strings, and even the worst groups were still right around 1 inch. So they guarantee on their website sub MOA, and I think anyone that shoots rifles seriously knows that sub MOA is kind of objective. It's, are you a sub MOA shooter? What kind of ammunition are you talking about? But so far, I do believe that this thing can deliver that without hardly any issue, because just in the development stage of our loads, they were all shooting, no bigger than 1 inch, even with the worst strings. So overall, I think it's a great gun. I'd like to put a lot of rounds through this thing, and so I can show you some kind of proof groups to show how tight it can really shoot, and to actually stretch its legs out and see how it performs at long range. But the next video I do will be a full review of this thing on the range and get you guys a better idea of it. But my initial thoughts are this thing's pretty darn cool, and so far I do think it's probably worth the price tag, which on their website's $21.99 is what they say it starts with. But I think on the street you're looking at like $2,600, $2,700 out the door for this thing. So if you're interested, it's worth a look, and I'll do a follow-on video pushing this thing out to range and shooting some tight strings to show you guys. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.